really revolve around the bottom lane, and Punish never loses positioning, because now the only pick that I think would be decent for the Flash Wolves has to be a Thresh. You know, the Lantern is something that can really save someone's skin, but you know, the Nami can be punished a lot easier.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting to see another team banning out Rumble against TSM, also a champion that you don't necessarily consider the strongest from Dyrus, but I do know that it's something that they've been playing in scrims, have been practicing a lot, so there may be this, you know, off-screen practice time that's coming into play here and making those decisions. But the Maokai's still up, the Nidalee's still available, so there's a couple of picks that basically Flash Wolves can get 2 of the power picks.
Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to see a first pick Maokai. You can see Flash Wolves spending a lot of time on this third ban. They banned the Vi, and so will TSM take this Maokai away? I think it might be a good first choice given what we've been talking about.
I think with the removal of the Vi, though, they're really forcing TSM's hand into not going with a complete hard engaged composition. With the lack of the Janna and the Morgana, the disengaged supports of the Thresh and the Nami are really vulnerable to getting jumped.
Lulu's still available though. Lustboy had such a great performance on it yesterday, so if they wanted to go for that disengaged utility support, that option is available because, again, it worked so well.
Yeah, Nidalee picked up. We'll see if they lock in that Vi as well. Karza, of course, has been known to play that Nidalee. Maple can certainly handle his Zed, and keeping that away from Bjergsen, of course, is very important. The time ticking away. Think they're going to lock it in?
This leads me to think that TSM is just looking to take the Lee Sin. Now, Lee Sin and Maokai are really good at peeling, especially something like a Zed. Zed goes into the backline, immediately gets rooted or kicked out, and all of a sudden, his death mark cooldown of ulting back to safety just gets hacked.
Yeah, and yesterday, Cloud9 tried to run the Lissandra into Maple Zed, and it didn't work out in the late game, and Hai just didn't really find the targets that he wanted to. Bjergsen is most likely not going to have the same difficulties if he wants to go that route, and he has also played a fair amount of Lissandra in recent weeks, so there's options and possibilities for them in the mid lane. If he wants to go super aggressive, you could also go LeBlanc. You can argue LeBlanc into Zed skill matchup at some points, but again, options in the middle lane.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned that. I mean, LeBlanc open for Bjergsen. We've seen what he does with that in the NALCS, a very terrifying pick. I would love it so much if they locked in this Rumble, but I just don't think it's going to be. There we go, the Lee Sin switch over. What's going to be the second pick for TSM? Corki, okay, very solid pickup in that second round.
I think TSM will eventually have to give enough respect to Maple as to not take the LeBlanc into the Zed and go for an Ahri. Ahri has done very well versus Zed because you can always predict where to throw the charm. Zed automatically teleports you behind the target, while Zed can have an easier time during the laning phase. The worrying thing for the Flash Wolves is that right off the bat, your jungler and your mid lane have no crowd control to lock down anything that TSM has to throw at you. And the Zed Nidalee really is easy to get away with, so they're really not looking to punish Bjergsen in the laning phase, which means that Bjergsen can go with a really greedy pick if he wants to and not be punished for it.
We'll see where he decides to lock in. The one thing that does also throw in interest is how Wild Turtle's going to play today. It was a first pick Corki for TSM yesterday when they did pick up their win against World Elite. And traditionally, the missteps and the misplays that you have from Wild Turtle have not shone through in their 2 games yesterday. So safe play, Trinity Force timing, combined with Lee Sin in a front line of Maokai, I think TSM have got a pretty good draft thus far.
And speaking of safe, it's going to be Lucian, Nami locked in for the yoeFlash Wolves, and you know, Sword Art having the ability to toss a couple heals in. You know, the peeling with the Aqua Prison is not something that's anywhere near as easy as some of the other supports have, but that tidal wave is still good disengage, and with a champion like Lucian, at least NL has some outs if he gets into a bad situation. So the last round now for TSM, I think Thresh would be a solid pickup for Lustboy, but what else do you think we might see?
The last 2 picks from TSM will really determine what the team composition is. I mean, at this point, they could even go with a double AD composition because it would not be punished. And the Thresh Lissandra, this means that this is a really heavy skirmish jungle fighting composition, which is exactly what the Flash Wolves cannot afford to do. Zed gets locked down, and Nidalee just has her poke really won't be that significant in this game unless it can hit on the Lissandra, because other than that, they will have a really easy time forcing it. And Steak has finally, I mean, let's see what the hype's about.
Well, Monty Chris has been wanting to see this all weekend long. We'll see if he finally gets the satisfaction of the Aurelia game off of Steak that he was curious about. And Aurelia, just it's the first time we've seen her this week as well, too. How do you think this is going to work out for Steak?
I just think there's so much importance on this early game for Flash Wolves. They don't have a lot of CC outside of that bubble, and yes, there's a single target stun from Aurelia, but Flash Wolves are going to be looking for skirmishes. I think if Maple can start roaming, work quite well with Karsa, maybe they can try to shut people down, but Maokai needs to be held back.
Yeah, the teams have chosen their champions. It is time for the very first semi-final here at the Intel Extreme Masters right after this.
Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. We're about to get into our first game of the first semi-final between TSM and the yoeFlash Wolves. My name is Joe Miller. Joining me for this first best-of-3 semi is, of course, Monte Cristo and Deficio. Guys, what do we make of these two setups here?
Different setup from the Flash Wolves compared to what we've seen before. Very late game focused normally. This is mid-game skirmish all around. Fantastic strong lanes. TSM gonna have to lane swap here and slow down this early game a little bit.
Yeah, I think that if you get into the standard lane setup right here, they will have quite a few issues. Of course, Karsa can just bounce between mid and top lane. There's a lot of kill pressure, and Lucian Nami should be able to hold their own into 2v2. So we'll see how the early warding patterns go.
Well, here we go into the game then. TSM versus the yoeFlash Wolves. Of course, TSM, as they seem to be wherever they go, a crowd favorite. Well, the yoeFlash Wolves showing that they can bust through these group stages and maybe, just maybe, pull off what would be a huge upset considering the form that we've seen from these two teams so far. But we're going to find out here. TSM moving out of the base right now, actually all together on the top side of the map.
And I'm really excited to see what Stake can do on Irelia. We talked about it coming into the tournament. It's been one of his main picks back in the LMS. He's been obviously stuck on the tanks so far. Maokai, he had a great performance on. First pick by Team SoloMid this time around. Stake needs to be a big carry for the team here, and Karsa needs to be able to snowball him as well, get him to that Trinity force and become a split pushing force, or simply assassinate Wild Turtle in the back line.
Yeah, that said, I mean, if TSM can survive this early game, they should have a pretty massive advantage coming in late. So, although to give Maple a lot of credit, in their game versus Cloud9, he did play Zed extremely well around the periphery in these team fights, which is a very difficult thing to do. So perhaps he can have that same kind of performance. Deep wards in from the Flash Wolves, coming in to see if they can detect a lane swap, and Turtle and Lustboy splitting up.
So Turtle, or what Lustboy is going to do now is he's going to bait this one. He's going to show himself on the ward in the bottom lane because he knows it's been placed by the yoeFlash Wolves. So now, okay, they think Lustboy and Turtle are going to be on the bottom side. He's going to recall, add his own tower, go top lane here. So this is just mind games, and this is basically going to force the lane swap now from Team SoloMid, because the yoeFlash Wolves are obviously expecting them to start Crooks now, or potentially just stay in the bottom lane.
Smart from Lustboy there. I see that NL on Sword Art are still on this bottom side. Actually, we'll be kicking off the blue buff here to help out Karsa.
Yeah, getting that small blue minion here, blue golem or whatever it is, seems to get a small XP advantage. It will mean your AD carry and your support in this case get to level 2, 1 minion faster than before. The problem is, Team SoloMid weren't in their bottom lane, so now you lost your opportunity of getting a freeze, and that's going to push in to Dyrus here on Maokai.
Dyrus already taking the Wolf camp as well with Maokai before TPing in the lane, so the faster level 2. Stake getting harassed, and Lustboy going to get a flay off and some more damage.
Tried to flay the Q from Stake. That's why he pushed him the wrong way after he'd already come close. But Stake now, I mean, this lane for him, he's already been chunked that he might have to blow a teleport already, and that just opens up for a dive for Team SoloMid up in that top lane on their level 1 Aurelia. So not looking too good for him here in the start on this Aurelia pick.
Look at this though, Karza actually inside of the TSM jungle right now, looking to steal away a red buff, and well, it's going to be pretty much mirrored on the top side of the map. Lustboy's already pulled that one out here to help out his teammate Santorin, and they will be finishing that one off without any real problems. The question is, where do they go after that? There's a ward on the top side to stop Zed really being pushed there, but Stake is still level 1. He's got a ward in that brush as well, so he should see this one coming.
But Santorin should go straight top lane here. You don't even need to kill that Aurelia, you just need to force her away from the tower because there's so many minions pushing in. If you get a flash, that's just a bonus.
Oh, there is the flash. Actually, Santorin going underneath the tower there. The phosphorus bomb did land, but wasn't quite enough damage to finish off a kill. But no flash now for Stake. Still level 1. He's going to have to go back to base, heal himself up. And honestly, when there are 3 people still there, he can't even TP right back into that lane. But he is going to TP down to the bottom side. Dyrus going to flash away from this one. It's the AD carry that's tanking up the turret. Castle will actually take a couple of hits as well. But the yoeFlash Wolves, I mean, in response to that push in top, I think that is a pretty damn good reply.
Yeah, I think it's a really good option in order just to minimize the damage to that lane state, getting the assist, so at least you can come back a little bit in this game. And the nice thing about this too is they can transition immediately into a dragon afterward if they so choose.
We can see the Lost Boys moving from this top lane here because they see 4 guys on the bottom lane. They know dragon is an option. Santorin, however, is still sitting around the golems up there, so they won't be able to stop it from Team SoloMid. Very nice response from yoeFlash Wolf. Only problem is Stake is still not getting any farm on this Aurelia. He's been denied so much.
Yeah, and he has to get going too.
Simply.
Yeah, it's about these power spikes. So even though we do see TSM giving up that first blood and the first turret and the first dragon right here, I mean, the farm, it just isn't there quite yet. And where are they going to find it on Stake right now? How are they going to deal with this situation? Probably by flipping their duo into the top side.
And another problem here for the yoeFlash Wolves, they didn't manage to bounce the wave on the bot lane tower when they killed it. So there's now a massive wave pushing down towards Dyrus that he can slowly just sit, farm away. So he's now going to get a level advantage, obviously a CS advantage as well over Stake here. And that wave, if they choose to swap Dyrus to the top lane now, well then Wild Turtle is just going to come in and pick up all this farm for himself. So this is a very good setup from Team SoloMid. Despite yoeFlash Wolf getting that first blood, they didn't have time to bounce the tower because they wanted the dragon as well.
Yeah, with the tower going down too, Stake's easy farm close to that tier 2 will be taken up instead by NL. And now they're moving into the bottom side once again.
Honestly, they had to put Stake top lane here to get the wave.
Yeah.
And they sacrificed him completely by giving that farm to never lose. Because now, look at the wave here. He needs so many players to help him just push the wave into the tower and reset the whole thing. And then Team SoloMid can even walk down and dive him if he's caught in the middle of the lane or just gank him.
They're coming around though. There are 4 members of the Flash Wolves down on this bottom side.
Yeah, that's Lustboy that's going to be basically sacrificed there. And well, he chose to flash over the wall, which I'm not sure was particularly needed there at the end.
There's a lot of gap closers, and there's not really any safety coming from that way. So they get the deep wards down, but basically just using Stake like a roaming ganker right now, considering he does have that hard CC. Meanwhile, NL just pressuring the top side, so pretty unconventional tactics from Yoe. And it is bearing fruit immediately, but honestly, TSM not that far behind, only 500 gold, and it's hurting their late game, or just even their mid game so much.
For sure, no Trinity Force in the near future for Stake here. And I think Lostboy just got really surprised because why would there suddenly be 3 guys in your jungle when the wave has been pushed all the way down to your tower and the pressure was supposed to be in the top lane where the AD carry was. So simply just got caught out. Dyrus, though, he might dive a second time again. yoeFlash Wolf, they want him.
Oh, Carter coming in from this one. Santorin is there as well, but NL already got the damage here to finish off this kill, and that's Dyrus going down twice in a row. And that means that this second turret for the yoeFlash Wolves should be falling as well. They're just waiting for another wave to actually get close to that tower so that they can get in there and do the damage. But that one is well and truly going down. So the Flash Wolves got the outer, top, and bottom turrets.
Now, Stake is being helped out by the global gold from the turrets and the 2 assists that he had, but at the end of the day, he's still level 2. And I mean, with Dyrus is already up there at 5, this is going to be hugely problematic. This Aurelia just is probably not going to be able to do much in this game. You fall this far behind on Aurelia, you have massive issues.
Yeah, and right now, Stake has 400 gold less than his support. And that says a lot when you need to get a Trinity Force and your support is like, yeah, well, I have more gold than our top lane Bruiser carry here. Stake definitely in problems. yoeFlash Wolf, however, they sacrifice him on purpose, clearly, because they're giving all the farm over to Neverloose. They are pressuring around the AD carry instead, trying to get him as far ahead as possible compared to a Corki. Maybe try and match the mid-game spike of Wild Turtle and keep it even that way. But Dyrus is going to have a fantastic time when wants to get in a one-on-one just purely from the level advantage.
This is a really dire situation. And going back to Lustboy's death earlier, sure he went down and didn't expect there to be 4 men in his jungle, but honestly, it doesn't even really matter if he dies right there. In fact, he's probably happy to see that occurring to a certain degree. Would have been nice to get out, sure, but you have to make sure that you pick up this farm. And going back to what we were talking about, the Flash Wolves, them falling behind in terms of CS was a major, major issue earlier in this tournament and allowed teams to kind of keep it even.
Yeah, and they don't have the backup of running a late game hyper carry now or late game composition. So if they manage to stall out like we saw against Cloud9, they could win anyway. It's not the same here. They cannot afford to fall further behind to Team SoloMid. Otherwise, it's only going to go in one way.
Well, Stake now has a grand total of 7 CS. It took him actually 8 minutes to get past 1 CS, just showing how far behind he well and truly is. At the moment, though, we can see a bit of a battle there for this red buff. Karsa does have Sword Art there to help him, but Wild Turtle on that top side of the map as well. And it looks like the yoeFlash Wolves have said, guys, we just can't fight for this one. Stake offers us nothing here, and he needs that CS in the top lane. He can't spend any more time helping out.
Exactly. What Team SoloMid is doing is they're playing around the weakest member of the Flash Wolves at the moment, so you will always have an advantage, even in a 4 versus 4 fight. Stake will do nothing as a level 4 Aurelia to a level 7 Corki. So they're simply just moving around the wards and the players to always pressure the lane Stake is sitting in to make it hard for him to farm and always get free damage on a tower.
Yeah, and there's just no pushing forward either with Stake. So with all the vision control, TSM definitely using the better side of the map at the moment. And since the bottom tower is already down, it's just NL farming up. And if we go back to the draft in this game too, and of course the Fisher is pointing out our TP here on Maokai.
That was just for you on the screen.
Yep. And coming here too, if we look at the draft, I think a lot of the reason that TSM took out the Morgana and the Janna was because NL really hasn't had the best positioning in this tournament. He had some questionable Kog'Maw flashes in the last game, and so if you remove Sword Art's ability to bail him out of bad situations, so this is the guy who's being expected to carry this team right now, and he really has to step up.
Let's see how that all works out for them. They're up, of course, in kills, 3-0. NL with 2 of those, and got himself BF Sword, Pickaxe, and Avarice Blade, so mixing up his build a little bit at the start. Of course, on the other side, Wild Turtle going to be rushing straight into that Trinity Force. Also got Seeker's Arm Guard out there for Bjergsen, so getting that armor in early on, so he doesn't have too many problems. But on this top lane again, Santorin and Lustboy going to team up here. We see the exhaust going down. The hook from Lustboy actually missing their Q from Santorin has landed though, and he's going to follow through on this one. Santorin taking a big amount of damage there. They will finish him off in the end, but Lustboy going incredibly low, and they'd already lost Santorin. Well done by Stake in that scenario. That's the best he could have hoped for there.
Yeah, getting 1 kill for him was definitely the best situation for Stake and the yoeFlash Wolf getting that dragon. You can see our Team SoloMid, they don't care about it. They don't want to fight too much in the mid game here, at least not before you got a Trinity Force and Hourglass for Bjergsen. So they went straight to top lane to kill the poor Stake while the dragon was spawning, sacrificing that one on purpose. Don't care about the stacks if you can fight for it on the 3rd or 4th anyway, but you can be stronger because you've shut down this Aurelia so much.
Well, but even so, just handing over a kill at this point is...
Oh yeah, misplay for sure.
Yeah, misplay for sure. And also, I want to point out the pink wards that we do see in the Flash Wolves jungle right now, because they immediately took that vision back. They know TSM was on that warding mission, and that allowed Stake to push out a little more safely and therefore force the dive, because you could see it in advance.
And we see again here the yoeFlash Wolf, they see openings where they can start pushing in towers. Lostboy Santorin has been roaming to kill Stake a few times, but haven't been really paying attention to defending their own lanes. And that's why the yoeFlash Wolves are sitting on 3 towers to 2 now. Will have to trade for the mid lane though.
Well, in a 4 and outer, albeit for the middle turret. And it looks like they may just push around onto the top side of the map here.
Steak.
A lot of them spotted out
the bush.
because of those pink wards. There is Santorin going through. He will spot that one. There is still one by the Raptor camp though, so that saw them moving up there anyway. And now Maple gonna have a go at Dyrus. He's gonna go all in onto him. Will Dyrus be able to survive this one? The death mark not popping for so much damage, and I think Dyrus is just gonna be able to walk away from that.
And no brutalizer yet for Maple here. Just wanted to see if he can force a summoner out of Dyrus, and he got it for himself. And also push in the lane, reset the whole thing. Still some very good wards, honestly, defensively from the yoeFlash Wolves, and also in the jungle of Team SoloMid around the red buff. So they have had all the focus so far on the bottom lane, and again, around never lose. He's been the guy to simply take down the towers. Rest of the team were just assisting him.
And also, it's important to note too, when we look at Bjergsen's play, what he does that's a little more unorthodox on Lissandra is that he will split push solo by himself frequently. TSM really likes to use Bjergsen's dueling ability to get that one-on-one and have him snowball off of those solo kills. And it's not something that we see on a lot of other Lissandra players, but it is an interesting kind of quirk to his play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's simply because he's so good, and it's a style he's been playing ever since he got into the LCS, into competitive League of Legends. I mean, when I played on team with him, it was all about split pushing every single game. So he's so good at this style. He knows when to back away, and his team, of course, can communicate properly. When are we pressuring certain lanes? When do we have to go deep board? And that's why it works so well for Team SoloMid.
Just want to point out that Stake is now a medium at this stage. Got up to 54 CS compared to the 49 of Dyrus. And, you know, he's sat 1-1-2, which is a better scoreline than what Dyrus has managed to this point, and now has more farm than him. So credit where it's due there. Stake getting back into this.
Yeah, not to mention catching up in levels as well. So this has been, I think they've read what TSM has been doing. Like we said, the clearing out those wards in the topside jungle really helped out Stake right there. And TSM couldn't maintain that control early on. So Stake, kind of surprisingly, right back in this game. And they also have those 2 dragons.
Setting up a trap here. The clever Dane spots it out for Santorin. I did see, though, there's a very late tier coming in for Castle. Let's talk about that one later. Now Bjergsen and his split pushing adventures.
Yeah, you just said he knows when to back away. Sword Art actually going incredibly low from that one. Bjergsen will flash through, gets a kill. So 1 for 1. I don't think it could have gone really much better for him in that scenario. We see there the Flash was actually trying to get across to pick off someone else. Didn't quite manage it though.
I'm actually surprised that Exhaust wasn't used right there in order to secure that kill a little more safely, because they may have been able to maintain some pressure or move into the mid lane and try and take that afterwards, but instead they do trade for 1 for 1. Still preferable for the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and it's very clear that Team SoloMid are getting very surprised about the aggressive play early on here from the Flash Wolves, how they keep invading into the jungle. They sit on a pink ward there. We saw Santorin check it, but by that time, Bjergsen was already caught so far up the lane that it could just collapse on him after. And obviously, Dyrus was sitting in the top lane. Teleport is ready now. Wasn't there before, so just a good kill for them, or at least a 1 for 1, we can say. I think maybe Sword Art was gonna say it's a safe kill, and then as soon as Bjergsen ultis himself, you can't really exhaust him. But as you pointed out, a little bit of a misplay for him.
Yeah, we're really narrowing down on the crucial part of the game, I feel, for Yoe, as well as Stake is getting in closer to what we see here with the Trinity Force and the Blade of the Ruined King with the Brutalizer. So the next few minutes are going to be very crucial to see how far ahead Flash Wolves can get, and if they can continue to punish and put down some objectives.
And I really dislike the way Team SoloMid has played the last few minutes regarding that top lane, because they keep pushing the waves down to Stake and then just leave him to it, because they simply lose something elsewhere on the map. So when Dyrus was pushing up the top lane before, there was 2 or 3 waves for Stake under his own tower. You can see he's catching up in CS again. He's gonna get a Trinity Force, not in a optimal time, but it's not even that delayed compared to what we expected looking at the start for him.
Yeah, we're in 16.5 minutes in there. Not as bad as it looked to be right from the very get-go. And again, they've moved 3 men to this mid lane. Wild Turtle is there to try and push them back. He has that Trinity Force done. Infinity Edge for NL over on the other side also finished there, and he's just going to be recalling with 1,500 gold. So just going to be moving up towards that Shiv by the looks of it. And for the yoeFlash Wolves, they've already got, of course, let's not forget, the 2 dragons at the start of this game. Next one's coming up in 20 seconds as well.
And now Team SoloMid, they're looking to fight. You can see it on the first item for Dyrus with the Righteous Glory. Hourglass is completed for Bjergsen. You've got Trinity Force on Corki, and Stake, sadly for him, didn't have enough gold, so upgraded the boots instead. Just resold it after, so I guess he's going to try and rush that Trinity Force, but Team SoloMid, they have to fight for this dragon here. They got the right items now.
We'll see if if Yoe wants to go for it or not. We've seen Steak try and TP in probably when he should be farming or pushing towers instead. In this case, I think you can give it up. Go ahead and try and get Steak to complete that Trinity Force, then hit your timing, and don't take it as a big risk. You've already got 2. You don't really need to invest right here. And one thing about that Righteous Glory, though, is it does give that sense that they're trying to play the same game they did against CJ, which is very rapid picks. One thing about TSM is that because they built this Righteous Glory, they actually are going to be a very low damage team composition in the late game, which is something to worry about, because if Yoe does get tanky enough, or they, at the very least, just survive the cooldown rotation from Lissandra, they can actually continue to scrap out a team fight.
Yeah, and we know that's the style yoeFlash Wolves wants to play and have played already at this tournament here. When Lissandra goes in, you see the entire team simply kite back. Maple doesn't just jump in on the first opportunity. No, they kite back first, they blow that ulti from Lissandra, and then you see the re-engage. Obviously also the likes of Hexdrinker and so on for Maple can be very, very useful. And for Steak even, if he wants to go for a second damage item.
The other thing about Glory, too, is that it will make it harder to counteract split push from Aurelia. So, going for a more defensive item first can increase your odds of being able to hold on.
Yeah, I would assume this means for Dyrus that he's going to get Home Guard as well, and simply use his insane amount of mobility to just sit and clear a wave one-on-one against Aurelia in case there's a split push on his own tower where he got the shield. And then he goes back to base and TPs in behind if the yoeFlash Wolf ever try to make any plays as a unit.
Well, we saw the flash forced actually there. See how that affects Never Lose. He maybe finds himself out of position, which has not been an uncommon thing, sadly, for yoeFlash Wolves, but we'll see about that one. They've now pushed again out in this mid lane. TSM will be a little slow to react to this, but luckily for them, those waves working in their favor and shouldn't have too many issues. Are they going to go diving in for this one? Bjergsen probably the man to watch in this scenario with that Zhonya's with his ultimate ready. And, well, decides against it. They back away. Dyrus is on the top side.
Yeah, and if you notice right there, the Flash Wolves did a very good job of setting up a slow minion wave push into the top side to see if they could actually use it to help get this mid lane tower down, and Steak wasn't overly pursuing that, but it's not going to work out. They do back out immediately.
Yeah, one of the reasons that is so important, even though it didn't result in a tower now, is if you just get Dyrus at least to blow his teleport and you then just back away from that mid lane, you will now have that summoner's advantage onto Bjergsen again, though, the second time.
Oh, we are going to see the teleport coming in, and, well, we were talking about baiting the teleport, and that's exactly what they've done. Maple was just forced to use his flash to get away from this one, but there shouldn't be any more problems than that. So no TP here for Dyrus. Steak still has his.
But if we talk about important summoners at this point in the game, trading the flash for the TP, that is actually a favorable trade, but they have to make an edge out of it in the next coming couple of minutes.
Yeah, Trinity Force is completed for Steak, so he will be strong in the one-on-one, but still very, very squishy if he gets dove by the likes of a Maokai, let's say Bjergsen or Centaurion coming up. But that's where the yoeFlash Wolf have to keep pressure on more than one lane at once if you want to do 1-3-1, because if only one lane is pushing for you, it's too easy for the other team to just go up and kill that one guy and then go back to the mid or bottom lane and defend whatever tower is being pushed way too slow. So if the yoeFlash Wolves can set up 2, potentially 3 lanes with the Zed in the other side lane, that's how they can really apply pressure and push Team SoloMid down in a corner where suddenly this mid lane tower will be open because Team SoloMid have to worry about the 2 side lanes being in a bad situation or bad disadvantage.
Well, we just saw the recall there from Maple and actually upgrading his boots there, so looks like he may want that extra bit of pace to move down those lanes. TSM actually looking to collapse in onto Steak in his top side. There is that ward there, and Steak already starting his retreat. I'm not sure they're going to be able to cut him off. Bjergsen coming around. Depends here how Santorin can land this Q and where Bjergsen is going to go. There is the Q landing onto Steak. The hook will land as well, and this should be a kill for TSM, but Santorin taking a beating in the process. It's a kill nonetheless.
And we just talked about this here. You cannot go and start split pushing if your other lanes are not in a position to punish the team for sending 3 or 4 guys to kill your split pusher. The bottom lane is not in a good spot. Mid lane, maybe they can take a tower for it. Ignore that one because Wild Turtle and Dyrus are already here. So the 2 lanes, the bottom lane and the mid lane, were in a good position for Team SoloMid, and that's why they can go up and kill Steak, who just overextended on his own, and we seriously just mentioned it.
Yeah, and also the distortion enchantment coming in to Bjergsen as well, so looking to get that flash up as much as possible. TSM seems to really have found this style of ultra engage at this tournament, and Dyrus a little bit caught out.
Yep, a lot of it caught out as well, and ended up going down there. And it's another, first kill even for Maple. Yeah, this tower now should go down. Carster's pushed that wave in. We see NL moving around the side as well. Lostboy actually trying to defend that one, but no way they could keep it alive. Had already taken a lot of damage earlier on, but TSM looking to maybe push out and chase this one down. Could argue dangerous without having Dyrus there as well, but either way, they've cleared out that mid lane for now. But the yoeFlash Wolves looking to turn this one around. There's the ulti from Bjergsen coming in. Deathmark does go down, but they finish off Maple. Can they get any more here, though? Lustboy will be finished on the top side, and this one's surely not over at this point. Bjergsen moving off to the side, and the yoeFlash Wolves decide they've had enough of that one. Couldn't quite chase any more down. And a 2-for-1, I guess, overall, with Dyrus going down just before it.
I think if Stake had teleported just a half second sooner, that would have been an amazing team fight for the yoeFlash Wolves. By killing Dyrus, they had already set themselves up for the 5v4, but Stake's presence, they didn't engage in time with that. They had to wait for him to arrive for the team fight, and they had the wards in the river as well to try and box them in. They could have herded Team SoloMid up the river and delivered Stake into the back lines.
And that's what we have to remember here. Stake is the main engage for the yoeFlash Wolves here. You're not going to send in your Nidalee first. Zed, if he jumps in, it's too easy to have your defensive summoners ready or defensive abilities. Simply just kite him back and survive that all in. So Stake needs to be there if they ever want to start a fight. But that's why normally the yoeFlash Wolves, and also with this comp, it's more about kiting first. If you're in a standard 5 versus 5, get Bjergsen to waste his claw, waste his ulti, and then you can re-engage after.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you're Flash Wolves, you really want the hourglass blown by Stake being on top of Lissandra. Therefore, it frees up Deathmark for Corki. That's how you have to play these team fights. And here's a Righteous Glory engage. Not going to find anything.
Just sending a message. That's all.
I'm not sure what message he was really sending, but...
The message was, we won't have Righteous Glory for this dragon.
Basically, yeah. No Flash either.
Message received, I think, from the Flash Wolves there, but if TSM can get this one, it would put the dragon score at 2 apiece. Flash Wolves getting the first 2. There's a big spear onto Lustboy. That might be enough to send TSM packing or not. Bjergsen gonna claw in. They've gone for Sword Art. They get Nidalee down to half health as well. There's the kick onto Carster. Dyrus will follow up. It's Stake in the back line, but he's already been taken out of this one. And this is not looking good for the yoeFlash Wolves, or is it? NL's actually gone charging in there. Managed to get himself 2. Will he get 3? He should do here. Bjergsen will come out of the Zhonya's. That's a triple kill for NL. Dyrus is trying to escape down the bottom side, but I think the Flash Wolves here care more for the dragon. It's going to give them their 3rd of the game, plus a 3-for-2 encounter.
And that looked so bad in the start here for the yoeFlash Wolves, but everything from Team SoloMid were blown onto Carster, the Nidalee here in the fight itself. Neverlose standing there with the QSS, didn't have to use it in the fight at all. Not sure if he got it after though. So he's just kind of dragging, so no, he had it in the fight, he just didn't use it. And simply everything blown. Notice this on the Nidalee, ulti from Bjergsen. Centurion is going to blow his ulti as well. Even the snare from Dyrus onto Carster. I mean, the guy's been annoying, but he's not that annoying. You got to blow everything on him. Stake in the background, and now Neverlose. Notice him just dancing around here. There's no CC left to lock him up, and he's just going to clean house.
And Turtle walking forward right there when the rest of his team was so low, pretty much ensured his demise. Bjergsen can't quite make it out with that Zhonya's. I want to point out, too, that now Last Whisper done. But before that fight, he didn't really, Neverlose is ahead. He didn't need that Last Whisper because there's just no armor. Finally, a Shroud down onto Dyrus, but otherwise, he was very free to get that QSS. And again, remember that TSM is dependent on Magic Burst in the late game. And the tank, normally we would see Maokai doing a lot more damage with a Rod of Ages. Not going to be there in this moment, so they have to be mindful of that.
And we really see all the focus the yoeFlash Wolves had on Neverlose in the early game. Always play around him, make sure he can push down towers, he can get all the side lane farm as well. It's been paying off for them because now he's so far ahead in items compared to Wild Turtle, not even completed the Infinity Edge yet for him, or potentially the Bloodthirst into Last Whisper. In that case, we wouldn't need a Last Whisper this early on the Corki.
And you know, we talked about NL's some issues with positioning in the last game, but in that last fight, he knew the exact right time to go aggressive. His illusion positioning was very good.
And as soon as you see them blow, first of all, the Lissandra ulti on
That
Just
culling
right
was
there.
not
Oh,
so-
might even get a kill.
whoa.
Wow, Dyrus going incredibly low. Wave comes through, NL will dash forward. Dyrus, though, does manage to survive there at the back. We see Maple going deep as well.
Oh.
Will actually flash in for the kill onto Dyrus. But now TSM pushing out as well. I think it'll be dangerous even now with NL still incredibly high. Meanwhile, Stake has managed to catch out Bjergsen in the top side of the river. Spear won't land, but Stake will get the dash onto him. There is still the Zhonya's available for Bjergsen, but even using that would be probably certain. Deathstream will throw down the ulti onto Stake. He's going to try and keep
That's a
himself
head
alive
stringer.
and maybe take one with him, but that is a good spear. Zhonya not used in the end, and that's a 2-for-0 for the Flash Wolves again.
Yeah, Kaza getting revenge for Team SoloMid, blowing everything on him before here, but never lose on this Lucian is so far at Dyrus. He cannot tank all the damage we saw before in here. That was the first kill, even though Mabel had to flash in and shadow to get the last kill. Bjergsen tried to flank. Once again, he came from a split pushing position, but yoeFlash Wolves instantly turned around. There was the Hex Stringer for Stake, so he could just keep chasing up, and they got that last kill. It's looking really good for them. They've gotten so many kills in this mid game. They got the early dragons. They got enough MR to survive the burst as well from Team SoloMid.
And what's important to remember here too is that due to the nature of the Flash Wolves composition, they actually do have that damage, the balanced damage output with the Nidalee because they can get the big spears. And normally you look at this and say, wow, this is going to be pretty dominant if you get the Thornmail. But considering that we're not really seeing any like MR, as we see Lustboy get jumped on, any MR itemization, Kars is going to hit even harder than he normally would.
Oh, and Stake has caught out Bjergsen here, and well, he's got the Zhonya's from before. We'll use it here. We are going to see the TP coming in. Stake might be able to finish this one off, though. Bjergsen getting himself inside of the brush. They brought Wild Turtle down to help as well. Minions might actually finish this one off for Dyrus, but the Baron already at half HP.
Such a big misplay here. Again, you cannot just give up this Baron for free, but it's a good use from the yoeFlash Wolf of the split pushing potential we mentioned with their Aurelia, and also the pink wards they bought with all these kills they've gotten in their mid game, setting up a blind Baron for Team SoloMid.
I think one of the most important things to note right there is we do see there aren't really many wards in there, and they saw Wild Turtle shooting Corky rockets over the wall, so he actually exposed the fact that he was on the bottom side of the map when I'm not sure that yoeFlash Wolves would have known it otherwise, and that made it even easier to commit to that Baron call.
And it leaves the yoeFlash Wolves 4,700 gold in the lead, 12-7 up in kills, and a 5-3 turret lead. We also see Karsa picking up a QSS, so it's going to make target selection for Bjergsen in particular yet a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and it's going to make the kiting from the yoeFlash Wolves so much easier as well, because Bjergsen doesn't really have anything he can do here. Dyrus as well, if he pops the Righteous Glory, try to lock down the Nidalee, well, you QSS, and you just keep kiting back here. You got the Nami ulti. The Lissandra is not a top laner, so there's no teleport to like home guard, flank, engage. From Bjergsen here, it's going to be more about trying to see if you can win the vision war around, let's say, a dragon, and then move the Lissandra around. Otherwise, there's not going to be any flanks from Team SoloMid. No home guard for Dyrus here, so he's just going to have to run in head first.
Yeah, I really think actually the home guard is a better pickup right here, because at the point Dyrus is at, even though the Thornmail is obviously very useful in this situation, they need to get a pick here, because NL is already so far ahead in terms of items that he has that edge where even with the Frozen Heart, it's going to be difficult to kill him. So why not try and use that teleport to turn the game around and at least stall things out?
And I wonder what Wild Turtle is doing here. So he had the components to Infinity Edge beforehand, decides to get to BT instead, and that's fine against the Zed. I like that more than a Blade because of the Igniter on a Zed. But this is delaying his QSS, which has to come in to stop Mabel from diving onto him and killing him in these potential fights. So he's delaying it with that pickaxe, and you're not going to get a Last Whisper third item when there's so little armor on the side of yoeFlash Wolves.
And this is also something that came into play during the game that C9 had against the yoeFlash Wolves, where Maple was able to repeatedly pick off Sneaky's Corky on the outside because of the lack of the QSS in the mid and late game.
Elixir as well, so even more gold used here for Wild Turtle. He's going to be an easy target for the Flash Wolves.
And guess what? That's 4 dragons as well. So the timer really on, and Flash Wolves has a pretty substantial gold lead right now. They should be confident going into any further fights.
Well, going to push down on towards this bottom lane, of course, with that Baron buff still on. Able to buff up those minions and cause a few more issues for TSM. And NL, when he hits those towers, they really do not last long with that double tap passive as well. We'll see if they can actually get in there. They've got Zed pushing the mid lane. They've also got Irelia on the top side. So actually pushing on all three fronts at this stage.
Yeah, as they should be. Keep them bottled up. You have the split push advantage still. You're looking just to find some skirmishes that will help you get a couple kills and extend the game long enough to pick up that last dragon.
You can also see here what Maple can do from the mid lane if they're setting up in this 1-1-3 setup, is he's going to move to the lane where Stake is, because that's where you expect Dyrus to come and protect, and he's still one of those targets that will die in a 2v1 because there's obviously not going to be any QSS for him, no Hourglass on a Maokai either. So if you get a one-on-one between Stake and Dyrus, expect Maple to show up, 2v1, kill him very easily, and then suddenly you just keep pushing down and get that tower.
And TSM is in that position that we talked about where they really just don't have any damage anymore, especially with the Bloodthirster build instead of the Infinity Edge onto Wild Turtle. You're not going to be hitting very many big hits. They're going to try and get a pick, but Ward is found with a Raptor buff. And all the QSSs across the board right now, the amount of magic resist coming in means that once Bjergsen uses his spells, there's nothing. There's just no more damage, especially without that Rod of Ages.
Probably going to get QSS as well for Mabel, and then suddenly he's not an option either. And really what happened early game, and we were so worried for Stake here on this Irelia because he got shot down so hard. But what the yoeFlash Wolves did was they traded farm on their top lane for farm on the enemy top lane. So Dyrus as well, look at his CS compared to the two carries. He's really far behind. He's never become this massive tank. Instead though now, Team SoloMid, they're looking to fight.
Oh, but Dyrus going to get caught out inside of his own jungle there, will go down, and the Flash Wolves now have a 5 versus 4. There's the slow onto Santorin. We see the push from around the side coming in as well. The spear not quite doing enough damage, but that means they open up this first inhibitor turret. That will go down, the inhib will fall as well, and oh, he's going to be close though. Bjergsen actually diving in, gets QSS out, will use his Zonya straight away afterwards. Can he escape it? No, he can't. Swordart gets that one. Maple actually inside of the base was finished by Santorin, and they've decided not to push through, but that tower's so low.
It was actually a big mistake there from NL to take so much turret damage. Of course, using the Nidalee heal and the Bloodthirster shield can allow you to tank for a little bit of time, but it was so easy for him. I mean, NL didn't even, he got killed so fast he didn't even have a chance to do anything at all right there. Didn't even bother to pop his QSS. Not
his heal.
Yeah, nothing he could do. Bjergsen is a very high damage Lissandra. If we look at his build, he hasn't gone for CDR boots. He has that extra magic penetration, so he can one-shot you, especially if you're at that low health from the turret. So misplay from the Wolves on that siege. They're still in a very comfortable position, though.
Yeah, we just saw how fast Dyrus died before here. He was caught in the jungle against 3 members of the Flash Wolves, and they just killed him instantly. So by simply them trading farm on Stake, or well, denying their own top laner, they also denied Dyrus because they kept pushing the lanes where he was with 3 or 4 guys. They kept diving him in the early game, remember, where they killed him 2 or 3 times as well. And it simply kept him down, and he was going to be this big late game tank that was going to make Team SoloMid being able to somewhat outscale the Flash Wolves because he just would be unkillable. But they really used this mid game so well, and especially used Never Lose on this Lucian.
Yeah, I really think the next big power spike too is going to be that Void Staff on Karsa. There is no MR on TSM. So that Void Staff, he's going to be able to chunk pretty much anybody to 50% health with 1 spear. And that's going to be a big problem as they try and contest objectives around this Baron and around this Dragon as they start to spawn.
Dyrus is pretty much alone there. He needs to be super careful. Actually has to take the lantern away. The wave will connect and Stake moving forward. Who's he going to go for? Actually, they engage onto Stake. It might just well finish him off here. Will actually flash after using his QSS, but Maple dives in the middle as well. Dyrus is going to go down to the death mark. They catch Wild Turtle, and the yoeFlash Wolves may be making one final push.
They can finish
They
now.
blast down Bjergsen. Now Lustboy trying to run off to the side. He will fall as well, and it leaves just Santorin to try and defend. They can push this mid-wave out and just go for the win.
Yeah, you really have to credit the Flash Wolves. When we saw them fall behind with Stake early, they were unpredictable in the way they used that Irelia. And in spite of NL's poor positioning kind of throughout this tournament so far, he really showed up in this game and proved he can carry this team.
A new level 1 strategy with an Irelia and a lane swap for sure. Definitely caught TSM off guard. There were many times where the yoeFlash Wolves got a few kills here and there in the jungle of Team SoloMid as well, where they simply didn't expect them to be. And that worked so well for them. No finish, 2 inhibitors, well, I guess it's the next best thing.
I mean, you got 20 seconds, Solar
Yeah.
Dragon, Baron's live. I think, I like my shot calling conservative Deficio.
Played
so
safe,
I'll
played
take
safe.
this one. I think it's a better plan just to
Yeah, for sure.
slowly roll out the rest of this game.
See if Team SoloMid can manage to steal this dragon here. They're moving in just, I don't know, I mean, you gotta sacrifice your jungler here, I guess, for it. There's really nothing else. Wild Turtle is gonna be late for this fight, but so will Mabel. Do you just rush it here into Team SoloMid?
Well,
Or do you just try and steal it with your jungler?
You die is what you do.
Sure.
Dyrus was on the wrong side of the pit there. Lustboy with the lantern in. Well, didn't quite help things out. Santorin will come across, try and steal his gun, but that's going to go down, and that means that 5 dragon mark has been hit. They kill off Santorin as well. That's 2 men down. That means probably inhibitor number 3 is going to be close to going down. They might as well, just take a Baron on their way through as well. But it's 3 versus 5 here for a good 30 seconds for Santorin. This is looking like it could be the end.
Yeah, just Siege right now, when you have the man advantage, if you take Baron, you're back in a 5v5. And this is, I think, the easier play right here, just to finish out this game. And definitely this match, a bit of a surprising upset so far, but the Flash Wolves playing the map really well for the second game in a row.
Really used that comp so well, and a different tactic in the lane swap, but really paid off for the yoeFlash Wolves here.
Well, there are both of those Nexus turrets going down. Lustboy will be finished off, and I think they want a few more kills just to sweeten the deal here a little bit for them in game number 1. Bjergsen trying his best to keep going. Did get a last second Zhonya's, but he's finished off with a triple there for NL. Can he get any more? No, he's finished off there with a double for Wild Turtle. Santorin trying to actually kill off Stake here. Will manage to do that as well. And I don't think Sword Art can particularly stand up to him. They've got super minions onto the Nexus itself. He misses the Q, and Sword Art is going to try and win the game right here. We'll go straight in there. There is the Q actually landing, but he's too low. Sword Art's going to kill him. There is the ace for the yoeFlash Wolves, and that will also be slowly but surely given the Nexus going down.
Nami here. You gotta get that finished when it's the IEM.
So game number 1 going over to the